What was solidified in the second decade is a structure that could take our students all the way from middle school through graduate school.
We really believe that we need to start showing them what the potential and possibilities that are there for them, even in middle school. Because once in high school, it's sometimes too late.
These young people were coming from schools with few resources. Some of them came from schools with one counselor to 500 to 800 students. So it was very taxing on the counselors. So we wanted to fill that gap, just like we had filled the gap in the family in terms of how we could help prepare these young people. In 1994, TELACU was very fortunate to be selected as only one of 2 nationwide non-academic organizations to receive funding for the TRIO programs. These are 3 programs that involve talent search and Upward Bound. These are for middle and high school students. The whole goal is to prepare them to succeed in college by providing academic support and also to prepare them to pursue post-secondary education. The 3rd program is a program for veterans. And this was vitally important because many of our young people had served their country, but they needed that support to transition back into society to pursue the college education that would make a tremendous difference in their lives. We began to expand services for our college success program. We instituted a leadership retreat, and that provides the students with exercises that many Fortune 500 companies actually provide to their executives. It involves a ropes course, it involves all kinds of team building exercises.
We had to climb up a pole. The harness doesn't seem like it's there, so it feels like you're climbing up a pole completely, without a safety net. Once you get to the top of the pole, you kind of have to jump out and hang on to another bar. And I think that was just such an empowering experience that I think just doing that exercise gives you that self-confidence that if you can accomplish that, you can accomplish almost anything.
We also recognize that our young people aspired to pursue advanced degrees, but there was very little funding.
We felt that it was necessary to provide those resources so they could achieve that dream. And that is why we created the David C. Lizarraga Fellowships.
Most other scholarship organizations will provide support for a bachelor's degree, but there are so many TELACU scholars, Lizarraga fellows, who go on to get advanced degrees, master's degrees, PhDs, and that's what really impresses me. There's no other organization out there that does that.
I was a scholar when I was an undergrad at UCLA for a couple of years, and I went back to get my PhD in business at the UCLA Anderson School of Management, so I received the David Lizarraga Fellowship. And it's thanks to them that I've been able to finance my education and obtain the degrees that I would have never even imagined I would have ever had.
We wanted our young people, we wanted to inspire them to pursue positions within government so that they could give our community a voice. And so we established the Washington, D.C. Interns program. A group of interns traveled to Washington, D.C. They lived on the Georgetown University campus. They were placed in offices of major congressional people.
I have met 2 presidents, vice presidents, senators of the United States. I work for a member of Congress that many times I had to remind myself I work for the member that represents my district. And that's something that I don't take for granted. I pinch myself every single day that know that I'm putting my little part to influence whatever decision making takes place back in our nation's capital to ensure that our communities are well represented.
Our network of partners continued to expand dramatically during this decade to include the entire UC and CSU systems. And we had our first benefactor. That's a gift of $100,000. And our very, very first benefactor, I'm very proud to say, was Edison. Edison was followed the following year by Southern California Gas Company and Coca-Cola. This increased funding made a tremendous difference for our scholars. The CREO Award recipient for the second decade is Ben Cárdenas. This young man embodies what can be achieved through economic and political empowerment. We'd been making a lot of gains in our community, but we could still feel the need for political empowerment.
Years ago, I was part of an effort to seek incorporation for East Los Angeles. It was not a successful one, but Ben Cárdenas sought to pick up that banner again.
Many of the goals that were set out to accomplish when we led the East LA incorporation effort were accomplished because we have engaged this community like no one has ever done since the 1980s, and now a lot of the nonprofits have that economic data that was never provided in over 30 years. In a grassroots, self-driven community effort, we almost founded the 89th city in LA County, and I was so proud of all our students that came back to help. We collected 16,000 signatures in 180 days, and that really showed the power of a community when you really want to make a change.
He is one of those that sees that as a need and continues to move forward.
Now, 10 years later, I'm still the district director for Congresswoman Grace Napolitano. I sit on the Montebello School Board, which is the third largest in LA County, representing almost 70,000 students. We have an operating budget of almost $200 million. I want to tell every TELACU Scholar student out there, or every person that is thinking about applying for the scholarship, to do it. To never doubt themselves. If a kid that grew up in the streets of Michoacan in less than 10 years can be walking the halls of Congress, if I did it, they can do it. Many times the barriers are the ones that we self-impose. Don't be afraid to share your story, because more often than not, you'll find common ground. One more thing I learned from TELACU is they told me when I went to DC, they told me, "Mijo, come back, before I get on that plane." And they said, "I will know who you're gonna be in life by the business cards you collect." So I took that to heart, and I went to DC, and you should see my Rolodex now. But it all starts by just taking that chance.